I think that's a pretty good name for it, Word Hooley. I like that.
YouTube on the Greenkill page. I posted a link to my story if you want.
I do. Thank you.
In the batter's box, I'm going to be doing a quick story and then I'll bring you up, okay? Yeah. Yes. You're number two. You're number two on the hit parade. I'm going to do my quick story to try and just warm everything up and then we'll bring you up. There's more people. More people. For a pandemic, this is out, you know what I mean? We've got a decent number of people out. It's nice having a little bit of voiceless back. Are we on now?
Well, I have Elvis.
Okay.
Start.
Okay. Just let me know when we're ready to go.
You tell me.
Okay, let's do it. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Give yourselves a round of applause for showing up. Come on, hello. Welcome to Greenkill. It's a fantastic art gallery and performance space on Greenkill Avenue in Kingston. And tonight we're having Word Hooley. It's an open mic poetry and spoken word night. And let me explain why we're having Word Hooley. Before the pandemic started, for 2 solid years, every Thursday night, we had an open mic here called Voiceless Readings. It was hosted by one of the great poets we're going to have here tonight. And Voiceless Readings was just a great, fantastic open mic. It was legendary in my mind. It was a lot of great poets. We had a lot of great times. It was just this laid-back, very creative, very supportive atmosphere. And then COVID came along, and of course, COVID, the pandemic, shut everything down, and ever since then, we haven't had the open mic readings like Voiceless here at Greenkill. And it was such a great combination of the venue and the event, and a lot of people missed it, And David, the proprietor of Greenkill, he and I got talking about, getting an open mic going. Maybe try it out once just to sort of harken back on the great days of Voiceless Readings. And so we decided to have Word Hooley tonight. And we have a lot of great poets, and a couple of the people are some of the alumnus from Voiceless Readings. So I'm very, very happy we're here. I'm happy Greenkill is letting us do this event here. Once again, it's a great performance space. It's incredibly supportive. So I guess we're just going to get going. And the first person on the roster is myself. I don't really do poetry myself. I just do stories. And I'll try to get things warmed up, everybody. So my name is Andrew Austin. I'm going to be the host of Word Hooley tonight. And I'm just going to tell you this quick little story. Okay, can we get my elf on the screen? I want my elf. There's my elf. Okay, now I got to figure out where to stand. No, don't move, Andrew. The camera guy will take care of everything. Okay, there we go. Okay, everybody take a good long look at that menacing little elf. That's the story. Now, here's the story. I work for Anderson Center for Autism. It's a wonderful human service agency. I've been working there for 12 years. I'm very proud to be a direct support professional. And the specific house I work in, I work as an overnight. I work like 11 p.m. to 9 a.m. in the morning. And my job is to clean up the house, get the house all organized for the morning, do some paperwork, monitor the house, make sure the residents of the house are okay overnight. And so I do some work, but there's this fairly lengthy series of a couple of hours right in the middle of the night where there's nothing to do. At the beginning of the night, I got to do all my work, clean up the house. And in the morning, I got to make them breakfast, help them get cleaned up, help them get ready to go out for their day. But in between, there's a couple hours where I just sit and I have time to read or watch movies. Now, one night over the Christmas holidays, I came into work and the entire house was decorated for the holidays. We had the Christmas tree up and we had the garland up and all that. And we also had the little elf you see here. He's about, 3 feet tall, sort of stands on his own little stand, and the staff, they sort of put him in a corner. He's got this smiling face and these beady eyes, and he's got this happy holidays thing. And most of the days when I go into work, I kind of didn't pay much attention to the elf. He's a decoration, he's there, it's Christmas, fine. But this particular night, I came into work, and just like any other night when I go in for my overnight, I start getting to work on cleaning the house. I go upstairs and I clean the bathroom upstairs. I come down, I don't really pay any attention to the elf. I go into the downstairs bathroom and I clean up the downstairs bathroom, get that done. Then I clean up the kitchen, clean up the dining room, clean up the living room, get everything all ready for the day. And throughout this, it's about an hour and a half. I just do my work and I'm not really paying any attention to any of the Christmas decorations, right? Then I sit down in front of the computer and I get my paperwork ready. Then I go into the kitchen and I start to prepare the kitchen for breakfast in the morning, and I do a couple other things about the house, and then I just finish everything. So a couple hours later into the evening, I'm all done. It's about 1 a.m. or something like that, I don't know. And I haven't paid much attention to the Christmas decorations. So finally, all my work is done until morning. I turn out all the lights, and I've got this, I like to read in the middle of the night, so I've got this little reading lamp. I go into the dining room, I take this little reading lamp, I put the reading lamp on the table, turn it on, so there's just me illuminated by this little reading lamp, and I sit down at the dining room table, and I open up my book, and I start reading. And I'm reading the Iliad, if anybody needs to know that. And I sit there, and I start reading the Iliad, and then I kind of look up. And the thing is, the dining room, it's got like this very clear view all the way out to the living room, which is where this elf is. And the elf is there in the corner, kind of staring at me. And it starts to make me a little uncomfortable. But then I think to myself, well, it's just a little decorative elf. It can't move or anything, so I'm just going to ignore it. So I put my head back down and I start reading again. But I can't read at all. My head keeps coming up and my attention keeps getting pulled to the elf. The elf is like really staring at me now. And I'm getting really uncomfortable about the way the elf is staring at me. But I think, wait a minute, I'm a grown man. I'm not going to worry about a doll staring at me. So I put my head back down and I try to read the Iliad. And I maybe get 2 lines into the Iliad. I look up and there's the elf staring at me. I put my head back down. I try to read more. I get maybe 2 more lines. In like 20 minutes, I've managed to read like 4 or 5 lines. And I can't stand it now. The elf is staring at me. And I think to myself, I'm being immature. This is stupid. It's just a doll. Who cares? I put my head down again. I try to read. Then I realize, okay, it's staring at me. I have to do something. I get up. I go out into the living room. I take the elf, and I put the elf down, face down on the floor so he can't stare at me anymore. I go back to the table. I sit down. I try to read. The problem is now I can't see the elf. Because when I laid it down, there's like this coffee table in the living room, and it's like the coffee table is now obscuring my view of the elf. So I don't know what the elf is doing. So I try to read, and I can't read now because I know the elf is in the living room. He's not staring at me now, but I can't see him, so I don't know what's going on. So I'm like, fine. I get up. I go out in the living room. I pick up the elf. And I don't know what to do. So I put the elf on the coffee table, face down. I go back in. I sit down, and I still am not comfortable because now the elf is like obscured in the shadows. And I'm like, okay, I have to do something. I go into the living room. I pick up the elf, and I have this elf staring at me with these beady, implacable eyes like a shark's eyes. I'm thinking, okay, I take it into the I want it nearby so I know what it's doing. I take it into the dining room, and I try setting it in one of the chairs, and I try to read then, but that makes things even worse because now it looks like the elf is sitting in a chair staring at me like a real person would, and we're like taking this this weird excursion into the uncanny valley. So I pause. So I take the elf. I put the elf on the table, right on the dining table in front of me, face down. I originally put him face down, facing the other way, but then his butt was in my face, and I didn't like that. So I sort of put him at a perpendicular angle. Finally, I was able to read my book because I could see he wasn't staring at me now. I could see him, so I knew what he was doing, and he was in this very disadvantageous position where he couldn't do anything immediately. You know, he was like face down, so if he tried anything, he couldn't get at me, you know. So I was able to read my book. In the morning, other staff come in. I start making breakfast in the morning, and other staff come in, and they see the elf lying face down on the dining table. And they're like, "What's the elf doing on the dining table?" I was like, "Well, nothing." And I pick up the elf, and I go and I put him back in his place in the living room. They're like, "Well, how did it get on the dining room table?" And I'm like, "Well, it's not important. Let's just put it back. How it got on the dining room table doesn't matter, okay?" I didn't want to admit that I was scared of an elf. And I was reading the Iliad, which is a book about manly men doing manly things in war, and the irony was not lost on me. So that's my dumb little story. I hope we're all warmed up. Like I said, we have a great roster of poets and spoken word people tonight, and I'm really looking forward to hearing all the content everybody has, because I know ever since the pandemic, everybody's been cranking out a lot of content. We've all been cooped up at home. Our first poet, you've done voiceless readings many times, right? Okay, our first poet is a voiceless reading alumni. I'm so looking forward to hearing from him. Everybody, please welcome to the stage Richard J. Treitner.
Here. Hi. Winner. Masked and unmasked versus each other. Vaxxed or unvaxxed, families divided, and a pox a day keeps the gay uncle away. And I don't know how long I can keep up this charade of sanity in a teacup on parade. You voted for me. You all voted for me. Everybody knows it, and that's a fact. There was no coup. The masks are a left-wing conspiracy. Antifa is real and coming for your children and pizza via mass marauders and other bad hombres. As long as you're all fighting and I'm in the news, I'm winning. So much winning, masked or unmasked versus each other. It's all the same for me. Just keep me in the media. Just keep me in the news. Just keep me on the tip of your tongue. And I have won the whole enchilada, and everybody knows it. I'm such a winner. Sleeping and dreaming. Sleeping and dreaming. Sleeping and dreaming. Dreaming and scheming. The end to the patriarchy. Just kidding. I already have a plan in place. Rocking and rolling from the pain, from the nerve pain, rolling in my vomit, rocking in my bed, screaming in the night, wishing I were dead with all of my might just to end the pain. And I know it's only just starting again, shaking my legs, and it could be worse. It could always be worse. Wakefully sleeping, painfully dreaming of you again. And the train does not end. The pain does not end, and the fatigue is unreal. I can't even make it to the bathroom some days without collapsing and dreaming, and reaming out the universe for not thinking of it sooner, and the patriarchy by changing all of the pronouns to confuse them. The all-white men bent over in pain, doubled over by names, fatigued by the effort, and it will be great for the world forever after to have them lost in a dream. And I screwed that up. So I woke up last minute and remembered that I had this event tonight. Last dance. Restless leg syndrome keeps me dancing with uncontrollable leg pain. The nerve of all those neurons firing at once. I could tear my own face open. I worry when my hands go near my eyes and threaten to dig. My own limbs are threatening to me, threatening bodily harm, and the year is unclear. It is now, is it then, is it here, is it... Whoa, years yet to come? It's not clear. All this sleeping and dreaming and ass-trailing projections. Is it now or is it then? Is it here or is it when? It's so unclear. It's all unclear. And the smells that my own neglected body emit are unbearable even in this state when I cannot wake and all I do is sleep and dance, move my legs and dance somewhere else across the universe, restlessly stepping and sleeping and stepping on myself and dancing, and I don't know what I'm doing anymore, but I'm on my last nerve. Here, this is actually written out so I can read it. Settler's choice. Settled on the tongue, like pollen on a petal, licked with the stamen and rooted with the seed, seated like a king with legs spread akimbo, all his vassals on their knees with his queen on the edge of a breakdown in the tower, every peasant in the field, every landlord rich on toil, all the prophets bled and taxed out, drops of love spilt on the backhoes, plowing for all they are worth. Shank all the prisoners, shank all the guards, damn yourself while earthbound and spread the dis-ease. Poison all the wells, medicate the masses, let it slip between the lips, make it sink into the stomach, like heavy metal morsels that burn you to the ground, even as you feed your need while wanking to the sound of the inhuman pleas and the people on their knees, until you're all cried out and burnt out, hollows where the eyes were, a soul gone dead and dried up, washed out and wrung out, hung out and strung out, fried like an old trout, baked and shaked about, left where nothing follows, endless sorrows, and the things that time borrows, the furrows of the brow that never leave the face, the way that bitterness burrows in and keeps pace with every empty heart and every empty soul within this pointless place that you call home. So, I guess here's another poem. No, I don't like that. We'll do Rosebud. Rosebud. Stuffed full twink style, puckering up for Jesus, for Allah. Thumb out, hitching a ride to the rock, hard to get ahead, clean your room for Buddha, Ganesh, all remover of these obstacles. The checkpoints, the privateers, plump with fillings, devoid of feelings, bribe an official for brie. Gaia smirks at your pipelines, your fracking insults, oil refinery, planet-killing bombs, and what the fuck? Do you think there'll ever be peace in the Middle East? Cream pie full and ready to blow perpetually? Feet in the stirrups, fucked by the world, drone, drilled, and spit upon, hustler, hooer, senator, clown. We voted for this by doing nothing. We opened wide for angry fists, hungrily, insatiably, climbing to riches, to trinkets, to anything that will kill us, pretending we wanted a savior, but only to laugh at, clamoring for the Enlightenment, but only to better see our bungholes by, our asses for kissing goodbye to, rump, plump, cum dumps, piled up along the borderlands like children seeking asylum, and never realizing that to refuse them is child abuse, is murder, is genocide along the Rio Grande, but at least it keeps the racists and mercenaries gainfully employed, picking them off, popping their cherries for salvation in the back alleys, virgins waiting waiting in the next life for Taliban, for Tea Party or extremists, corporate puppets and puppeteers, flaming assholes raped by the inmates, asylum refused and anally screwed to ever overflowing, and just like every taxpayer, enslaved by the system, grabbing their ankles and screaming, "Yes, sir, I'll take another load," and ruined rosebuds never looked so sweet. So, here's one. Resistance. It's not about being irresistible. Resistance can be sexy as fuck. You can wear it like a badge of humor, or get the hip new t-shirt online anytime. Resist the transistable future, the corporate downfall of us all, its mechanization and privatization, its sinister means of stealing one's soul, its sanitization, the harming, maiming gestalt of its ways, its slinky secrets, the globalization, the fear, the greed, those things that should never be taken away again, the indelible, all that is lost, the way it makes you wet, the insurmountable cost of lies, of mundane truths that bend to desires, things to be stood against, propped up upon, propositioned against in court, and the things that make you like give up your rights, your loves, the cost of the curves, the hardness, the black oil snake, the things that you cannot or will not resist, and me. I found your bones like footprints, 10,000 years after you'd made them, frozen in stone, impacted in craters, and I wondered what your life was like before the ice moved in. La, 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 la. This is called a Druid's Passing. What remains of meadows, the lost little ones, bounding through the tall grass. Can I start over? What remains of meadows, the lost little ones bounding through tall grasses, reeds bending, exposing wild and only mildly wild flowers, the reeds like ladies' skirts slipping aside, showing knees, showing lacy underwear, playing peekaboo with the men in their fancies. States of grace are born like this, secrets slip from lips like spit. What remains of woodland wonders, the swaying of the tallest trees, fretwork umbrellas shaking in the storm, the frightened of their imminent massacres, the thunderstrike of chainsaws, teeth of lightning, turning the living into mulch and paper goods, nestling birds weeping through the night. Scampering feet down below, unawares until entirely much too late. Until the fall comes and they are chased onto the roads, onto the paths of oncoming cars, with hungry wheels that kill them dead, flattened by their rubber teeth, lightning fast, insatiable monster rubber teeth that kill them dead. These are questions asked in silence by ladies with their tea and biscuits. What remains of me, catatonic in the ground, silent as asphalt fields, sterile before the people come in locust running shoes, even stiller when they go, leaving nothing much behind but steel. This is where things get sticky, and the earth vomits forth her disdain before dying. The endless worst finale. I cannot march on to Pretoria. Ba, ba, black sheep, abort. Not one more in the name of love, not even one. You cannot hug with nuclear arms. Bread, not bombs. Love, not war. Fuck me, don't fight me. This is not a military action. This is not homeland insecurity. This is not a coup against the government. This is not the promised revolution. This is America, dumb and blind and fighting all the way. This is us against them, no matter who they may be. This is us against the world's best interest. This is us poisoning paradise to stop the enemy. And the enemy is us this time. The haters versus the lovers versus the tree huggers versus the preservationists in mass. And we are winning a loser's war, winning a losing war, which we have already surrendered to ever do. That didn't make sense. Okay, I'm done.
I'll give Richard a moment to clean up. Okay, you need help there? Alrighty. You really brought your whole oeuvre tonight, didn't you? Good job. Listen, everybody, Richard J. Treitner. Excellent work, Richard. So good to see you on the stage again. Our next poet is a person who's new to me. I don't think... Zandra, have you ever done voiceless readings? Forgive me. Oh, forgive me, you have. Well, you're an alumnus then. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Zandra Celine.
Tire tracks across a burning sky, ain't seen you straight since last July. And maybe that's just me being nice because we both know you lost track of time. You stay tripping over things intangible, thoughts, feelings, words you can't juggle. And I'm lost for anything to offer. I can only lead a horse to water.
Your tongue is a blade. Use it wisely. Unsheathed, you can speak words to bring even the most deceptive demons to their knees. Eviscerate with ease. No cowards here. Only the brave. Cowardice guides an unsteady helm. You must know your path, or else you will be lost. The sea is unforgiving. You must be just as fierce, just as strong. The storm within you can drown empires. And one more. This is kind of a return to the first poem that I read. It is also in the form of a riddle. I'm hoping somebody by now has kind of caught on to what it is in reference to, but I won't hold that against you. No lies here. Do not lie. We will know. No lies here. Only truth to show. Watchful, watchful are our dark, sharp eyes as we take flight across all skies. Do not deceive. We will know. Liar, liar, all lies must go. Truth, truth is what we seek. No room in oak and iron halls for the weak. Time, all things in time, all things seen, all things known. We feast on the fallen, sever flesh from bone. Unworthy, unworthy, cowardly men. No cowards here. No cowards shall be let in. You must remember deep, deep thoughts to think. Drink, drink, drink. Mead of poetry to drink. Remember deep, deep thoughts to think. No lies here. We will know. No lies here. Only truth to show.
Once again, Tiffany Madison. Great work. Great work. Our next performer is a storyteller. She is a regional actress, director, and writer. And as a matter of fact, she is directing and performing in Trojan Follies. That's a comedic take on the Trojan women that you took hand in writing it, correct?
Yeah, I co-wrote it.
Yes, she co-wrote it, and she's directing and she's acting it, and it's going to be taking the stage at Saugerties Ice Arena in July. Oh, no, sorry. New Paltz at Denizen in July?
In July, last week in July.
At the last week in July. Okay. I'm sorry if I screwed everything up. It's okay. Anyway, she's an excellent spoken word artist. I'm happy to have her here tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Jessica Boyd.
Is that good? All right. So this, I have one, possibly two pieces to read. This first piece is a monologue written from the perspective of a character in Woodstock folklore. Her name was Catherine Van de Bogart. So this is her speaking, and I'll perform it to the best of my ability. All right. Hello out there. Hello. My name is Catherine Van de Bogart, and I speak to you from the other side, as someone who once lived in this world, albeit briefly. I must say that I'm truly taken aback. I wonder now, how many of you are out there in the darkness? How many of you is my voice reaching? I throw my voice out there. Who will catch it? Will it be caught at all? Well, this is all very familiar. Almost 202 years ago, I died a rather horrible death. And in the moment of my death, I was faced with a similar thick darkness. And as I faded into it, I wondered, will my memory survive through it? I was a young woman when I died at the hands of my husband. John Van de Bogart was much older than I, but we married, being that this was the 19th century, because I saw the promise of a kind and good provider in him. That was something we women of the 19th century were trained to look for, a good provider. A man must be a good provider above all else, our mothers touted at us. Love was secondary, or, in some cases, unnecessary to a good union. Just a couple of months into my marriage with John, I began to see a new side of him. He suddenly became so very irritable and strangely suspicious of me. Each time I came home from a day out, he interrogated me, asking where exactly I went and who I was with, namely which men I saw. I always answered truthfully. No matter how many times I reassured him of my loyalty, he grew all the more enraged. I remember the first night he became violent. I'd come home from the market with supplies for dinner, and he came at me with a stick in his hand. "What took you so long?" he barked. "Who were you with?" "No one," I replied. "Not a single soul." "What?" he then said, rage mounting. "You think I'm gullible enough to believe that those vegetables were your only companions this afternoon?" "What on earth would make you think I am unfaithful to you?" I said, backing away from him, trembling. "A girl as pretty as you could have any man in the world. How could you not be?" Reverb. These fights occurred on a nightly basis. Often our neighbors heard us bickering. They would rally to my rescue. Yet this only aroused my husband's passions further. After countless of these quarrels, I decided not to leave the house anymore. I feared too intensely the wrath and ill-founded jealousy of my husband. At this time, I was also pregnant and feared for my baby's safety as well as my own. But one day, I simply had to leave the house. One of my neighbors was suddenly taken ill, and I felt it my duty to be by her side as soon as I was able. I was gone for the whole of that day, nurturing my poor friend and ally. I arrived home late that evening. The house was dark, and all I could hear was the ominous thumping of a walking stick. I looked about, but saw no one in the shadows. Moments passed as slowly as millenniums until I heard the walking stick again. Bum bum, bum bum, bum bum. This time behind me. I spiraled round, but before I fell over my husband, I staggered back. He lumbered towards me with a large elm tree branch. I staggered back, and before I could fall over, my husband continued to lunge, seized my wrist, and pulled me towards him. He then beat me with the branch of the elm. "Some wife you are," he snarled, leaving the house dark with no supper on the table. How he beat me, and beat me, and beat me. He beat me until the world became fuzzy, and my body felt heavy, and I passed out at his feet. I do not know how long I was out, but when I awoke, I was in bed with my neighbors girdling round me. "You should have that man arrested," said one neighbor. "The vile creature should be hanged," said another. "No, no, buried alive," said yet another. I listened to this chorus of commentary. I felt weak. I knew not what to say, but then, oh, so suddenly it dawned on me. I knew what I had to do. "I refuse to make a complaint against my husband in this matter," I said, struggling to prop myself up in bed. "Instead, let me be buried with the elm stick he beat me with, so that it may take root in my heart and grow into a stately tree." After stating my dying wish, I went into labor, and I died the next morning. The child did not make it either. My neighbors abided by my request. They buried me with my child and the branch of the elm. At this moment, you out in the darkness might be wondering, why? Why did I not make a complaint against my husband? Well, because convicting him of a crime might have led to his death, and in death, he would not have to live with the memory of his crime. He would not have to face my mighty elm each day, day after day after day. Not only that, But the legal system in my day was seldom ever kind to women who spoke out against their husbands. Men were favored in the eyes of the law, in the eyes of society. In fact, my husband may not have been put to death at all if I turned him in. Rather, set free, acquitted. If anything, I would have been punished for speaking out against him. The judge might not have even believed me. Therefore, the only way for me to get justice in my time was to make it for myself, to work outside the law, outside of society. And my darling husband was tortured indeed. For 3 years after I was buried with the branch of the elm he beat me with, a new, stately, beautiful elm grew out of the grave and dislodged my tombstone. So imprisoned by my thriving memory, John tried over and over and over again to cut my elm down, but to no avail. I also heard in the hereafter that future descendants of my husband tried cutting my tree down as well. I'm learning now, in this moment, that no gale or gust of wind, no storm has swept away my memory. It travels, yes, through words, through story, but my memory has never died. And I'm so very grateful for whoever is out there in the darkness catching what I'm throwing out there. I thank you for listening to my story. Never in my short life would I have dreamed of having a voice and of having agency over my own spirit. The elm had given me a voice for years, and today you have given me one. I thank you wholeheartedly for that. Thank you. Thank you so much. So that's based on a pretty well-known folktale in Woodstock. Do we have time for one more paragraph? Yes. Okay. Thank you. It's another tree-related thing. I guess I like trees. It's just a short thing that I've been playing around with. It's called The Tree. So here we go. The tree. I do not remember her name, but her absence is a small tree, a looming blur in my mind. I will never, ever forget how the tree greeted me on walks from the student center to class, from class to the student center, on a path as slanted as this digression into memory. Deep in the past now, down this slanted foray, I see an email. The year 2013. A sophomore. She killed herself. She suffered a while, had gotten help, had tried her hardest to be okay, to make everything okay. There was nothing more we could do. Nothing more we could do. So, she turned into a tree. The year 2015. I see myself, a college senior, staring at the tree on an October evening. I could see my own breath, and my breaths were like pale wisps in the cold autumn air. Those wisps were all the life I had in me, as if I were made of ghosts. Leaves danced around the tree like witches casting a spell. My mind was similarly wind-tossed, jumbled, withered. One wrong step and my sanity could crumble, a browning leaf beneath my feet. Any day now, really. Suddenly, the crunching of leaves, the sun setting, chills covered my body. Chills from the autumn air, chills from the startling possibility that very soon I could become a tree too. Thank you very much.
Jessica Boyd. Wonderful. Great job. And fascinating, too. I did not know that story. Great work. Our next performer tonight is a legend. They were the host of voiceless readings for almost the entire 2 years, and everybody is so happy they decided to come back for tonight's show. Please welcome to the stage the one and only Noah David Roberts.
It's great to be back. Let me just raise this 10 feet. Here we go. Yeah, I love Greenkill so much. Thank you all for having me. Great. It's amazing to be here, really. Truly grateful. I have a handful of poems. This one's titled Bone River. Return then to the place in which you grew. Go back to the broken baseboards, slipping blinds and cabinet doors cracking, to overgrown lawns. Return to the yelling in the yard full of bones. Through dusty gray skies and tree trunks, travel back. Travel back through stumps in the road and pavement holes. Potholes lead you out of the city and don't bring you back to it. Pass through rivers, fields with floating grain and sunflowers. You told me to fear death by water, so I don't swim anymore in the dark water that took my grandmother. I don't swim anymore in the city. I used to be afraid of blood, the blood of my own body, lacerations and scars, used to fear what lurks and hides and swims under all of our skin. Walk through rag and rudder. Talk through the crazy, get high through the hallucinations, step after step into the dark water. Tire screech on thin layer of dirt upon broken asphalt. Know that all you love will leave. Know that it is precious and to be treasured. Know that you are chased by a dog from hell. Know that its bites cause scars. Know that the angry dog you are chased by is the same dog that screamed in the night. Know that maturation is a sign toward miracle, that growth is a form of magic on its own. Speak then. Say, welcome. You were not here to hurt me as much as it may have seemed like it at the time. Return with knowledge, with value and truth to the place of your birth. Dark water you came from, and dark water to which you will return. Dark water that swells in the bloodstream, dark water that makes the stomach go bad. Dark water in the arms and genitals of a stranger. Dark water in suicide, dark water in silence and in masks. Dark water drank from the chalice of ignorance. Go back to where you were a child, remembering those things, staring at the oceanic waves like they are glaring psychotic in front of you. Look upon the hateful nature around. Look at the falls, the liquid crashing down, the rocks melding and molded to fit. Look at the bottom of the river. How many corpses capitulate its existence? Hell generates love. Beasts chase down dark streets, leaving her in the ground, finding me in the river swimming. Return then to the ode which began your childhood. Look around you. Tears stream down cheeks, forgiveness found only in the water, in the well. Love found in a paper cup in the small back room of a public center. Look around you, surrounded by lakes and blood streams, surrounded by paranoid marrow, traced by blood cells. All of this now bone. Thank you. This one's titled Dissipation Spell. We tear our hearts out, those of us that love, bleed upon golden ziggurats torn down with rocks, with thorns, lacerate the body and lacerate the mind. You're doing the right thing, I'm told, slitting wrists in the bathtub of insanity, the world of cinder, bathroom of lies. Room of knives, slashing and slicing. Room of wood, burning and ashes, world of flame, watch the world flaming. We tear our hearts out, depth of the void, sad for the silence and the empty. What I hear is not what you hear, is not what I say, is not what you say. Misunderstanding is in that room. Witches of divergence and fear, the tragedy of lost love, the burying of burned stones. All right, this one's titled What I Do in the Dark. Left alone with the thoughts The thoughts that harrow, frustrate, pitch black fan blades cut the air. I was not productive today. Spent time cutting paper, cut the skin of the tree to see it bleed art onto the glue-struck page. Wrap arms about my torso, wrapped in 1,000 dark arms, black bears on Monday. I blow up balloons and send them to the sky, filled with scraps of words and torn up notes. Air explodes from my lungs with a squeeze of the torso. Air explodes from my mouth, the kiss of the dead. I fuck until my brains are gone. Suck the parts of the body, lick and lap around the shores of sensual beaches, enter the darkness within. Slit my throat like the throat of joy. Barbed wire in the skin makes the hairs on my back stand up. I break glass on the edge of the counter and lift up the voice of the damned. Cauterizing the blood to congeal in aesthetic pleasure where my love hid. For years I would burn cigarettes to my arms, chain smoke cigarettes to my mouth, marijuana and opioids, ketamine and ecstasy. And we've all had problems, but there is a salvation in the pitch black of night where I walk and wander through empty streets, through broken cobblestone and teeth and bars and bar hopping and treacherous souls living treacherously through the manic insanity of that night. All right, this one actually got published in the online journal Horror Sleaze Trash the other day. Thank you. It's titled Movement and Play. Will you write a poem about me? I want to be a muse. I move through desecrated boneyards, through empty vessels. I move through memory of time and what time is. The burden of healing is upon me and only me. Generations of, will you write a poem about me? I want to be a muse. Cast upon the month of April, cast upon the sea, cast upon the water, dark water which seems to be the whole world, wearing nothing but a kimono in dim thunderstorm evening. I move through desecrated cobblestone, move through drunken alleys, move through play and ropes, move through nurses and Klonopin, move through eternity with one eyeball locked upon the sunlight, casting shadows upon darkness. I want to be a muse. Will you write a poem about me? And this is my last poem, sadly. But I just want to thank David and Andrew and Tiffany for inviting me to do this reading, David for facilitating, and Andrew for hosting. So give them a round of applause as well. I love you all. This one is inspired by a novel by Roberto Bolaño titled The Savage Detectives, and the poem is titled What We Found. Tear a bullet from the spine of poetry, it won't bleed anymore. Tear bullet tears through tears. Sobbing in the desert Sonora, we found poetry hidden in a small dirt shack. We found it. We found poetry hidden in the muscles and skin on my back, found kiss marks on sandstone, lipstick in the sand. We found a gun in the glove box, found saviors, found deserted ones, desperate ones, regal and relegated to that land. Found a million furious bouts of fucking, found land, gave it back, gave kisses, took it back, found God in a glass of water. Found locks of hair in my toilet, found terror in the shrieking shadows on my wall, fairy lights in the sky above Sonora. Found love in a paper basket of crumpled paper flowers filled with coins to the top. Thank you so much.
Noah David Roberts, thank you so much for coming out. We were so happy. And you're right, I love Green Kill as well. Noah David Roberts. Our next performer, interestingly, I've never seen her perform before. She came out with another one of our performers and decided the last minute to join the expedition, so I'm very happy about that. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Hannah Zubarava.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. This first one is called Findings from Today. I cannot seem to find the laces to my comfort. Perhaps they have fled the whirlpool, or perhaps I am blindly obligated to search for nothing of importance in a space floating heavily. I lose and find myself in the rain, in the touch of the piano, underneath the staircase. There's a banging outside my window which will not rest. It bangs until my migraine falls through and I awaken the next day. The day after, I find myself again, on the insides of my sheets, with faces staring with regret, mostly of hideous animals, though it is the humans which hide underneath my wretched bed frame. When my eyelids close, I see the laughter, though my face muscles dare not clench or heave or gradually unwind. They remain the way they are, dark, refusing to be exposed under the microscope. When my fingertips clasp, I could feel my veins making a popping sound, as a premature tooth being pulled by a string tied to a handle and shut by a door. I can taste the chocolate in my mouth as it dries and desperately perishes, intoxicating me. I can hear the imaginary hail over my skull, underneath radiating balls of fire, cooling us all morbidly. I could feel it all today. I could sleep as I would in a hollow, never-ending gray mattress and rest my mind without the pillows of concrete electrifying magnetism. I could sing today, which perhaps may seem undesirable, but it is only for today. Today I will sing until my voice box cries for forgiveness, and even then I will not grant it, for all the sinful disputes withheld into silence. For today I could feel every bone inside me intact and can scream as a newborn cub would. I would climb to the tip of a pine tree and sit and smell for 6 hours. I could run across a field and not cry for myself but for the world. Today I am not sorry for you at all. A pity it is to have a day like today, to search for findings and be swallowed in a fistful of keys. Perhaps this is what we need most. Yet our feet face the other direction, and our necks can't help but rotate as we wallow backwards, away from today. It may be me or the other ants on this hill, but perhaps my selfishness keeps lurking behind me. To the queen ant I stumble and draw the fruitfulness of my youth, holding honey on my tarsal claws, taking licks in between rests. Compassionately, my tergite is left brittle and crisp, yet it is only me who hears my exoskeleton's gratitude. And did you know us ants can carry up to 5,000 times our own body weight? To think only of the human shoe and its dreadful encounter. My feet feel heavier now than they ever did, pondering on my position in this world. Wonder do I, of what it means to be alive today in fur and claws and everything unholy and unhuman. There was a time when I was a tiny little girl, tiny as an ant, or so I thought, when my world span around me, or rather, without my inclusion, and so it just span, and not around me. I never did decide if I wished to spin along or impossibly resist the gravitating pull of the forcefulness of society. Today, be it a marvelous day, I choose to sit rather than spin, if there is a difference. And if there is, my hope for tomorrow only grows denser. When I was a tiny little girl, I thought days were purposeful and held a definitive color, ones which left shadows, ones which sometimes fell into the next day. Though that is a lie, and I must admit it sounds nice. Quite frankly, I do not remember anything, not even from today. You see, today, my mind decided to dive, and I cannot let it stay steady for much longer. But worry not. Tomorrow I will find myself again, and if I don't, the world will carry on in its warfare and its bliss, and the gleam of my silhouette will linger evermore. Thank you. This one is called I Lost You Blue. Piercing pain arriving from midnight frosts. My temples swell, and inside I am dredging the unavoidable exit from the delicate cocoon I fabricated for myself the night before, when the heat still drifted in a lazy dance, and I watched it pleasantly, encompassed entirely by something different altogether. But the warmth was still there to cup my face and hold me still. not letting my ears and all of me fall blue, which these days has been nothing but an ungodly loud parade of blueness, truly. These days, blue is no longer my favorite color, as it was in my childhood self, as I reflect on my admiration for the passing skies and perfectly pleasing waters, the peaceful nature of the hues, growing from purity towards death and inviting itself into my most complex beliefs, reassuring me that blueness is specific for its passing and calming demeanor. Blueness is no longer an appreciated color, but a tingling ringing of loneliness and distaste for the waking. It is the moment my eyes are fixed ajar, and the realization for my frost and solitude wash over me. And on those most unwanted yet frequently visited days, I try to retain my body inside its makeshift heat chamber for as long as possible. And the longer I remain, the worse the blueness spreads. I feel its absorption in the frozen sticks of toes within layered shells, so obnoxious in its defeat in my attempt for prevention. It is becoming a constant play of defeat, and I now loathe you, blue. My dear sweet blue, from my toes, which sometimes I hardly know they were even there, I feel you almost equally within my fingers, now delicate to the touch of any given object, almost breakable. Though truly, the first sign I knew I lost you was when you began to coat my face in your serum of ice. Slowly in my slumber, you inch yourself layer after layer of pain, in which I awaken from and surrender underneath, as I am always hiding from you, blue, though even then I cannot truly run. And this is my last one. It is a poem I wrote last week called Redemption. In me cries slowly a flicker of short breath, glimmering gently in a dungeon of melancholy, awaiting the melting candles burn until total darkness arises and overcomes the ghostly appearance of the hollow. Embraced wholly in heart-seizing emotion of unknown sorts, to think deeply of darkness without seeing its shadows, climbing a ladder with no end, and as each foot slides into the next railing, the steps left behind wither into ash, for downwards finds a darker reflection, a mirror into the soul of the lonely climber. And so it becomes imperative for the overseer to construct the ladder with strength, made of faith and pulling brave beings by tugging at their slippery strings, if only to bring them closer to heavenly closure and win the almighty fight of human despair. Follows the responsibility of the fallen soul to hold hope closest to heart and blindly see the appearance of hands of holy absorption, holding still within the vastness of the hollows. And in the case of misstep and unforeseeable loss, there shall be a guiding blessing awaiting your crumble, only to provide a gentle kiss, mend your festering wounds, and reposition your journey to redemption. Thank you.
Excellent work. I'm so glad you decided to jump on board. That was great. Hannah Zubarava. Great work. Thank you so much. Yeah. Oh, we're all happy to have you. Our next performer is another Voiceless Readings veteran. She, if I can say it, she first published a poetry book, Sewage Flowers, back in 2019, and you're soon going to graduate from a creative writing master's. Congratulations. She's great. Happy to have her here. Please welcome to the stage Robin Hager.
I didn't pull anything up. I'm very unprepared. Let's see. Okay. I also just wanted to say that I would not be who I am today if it wasn't for this place. So I want to say thank you to Greenkill. Yeah. It's the downfall of being the shortest person in the room. Okay. This is called Triple Entendre. And also, basically all of these are going to be in my thesis, which I am presenting in a few weeks to graduate. Okay, this is a triple entendre. Untitled, I become worthy of the world. I close my file and seal it in a safe that locks from the inside, though I know it is still not safe. I have heard the sound of sirens in my bedroom coming from everywhere, closing in on my bubble, my passion. Seek like piggies in twilight, work to live to be more than one. Ignore anything extraneous. This category can include anything. See through the evanescence of our cosmic realities. It is only harsh when you believe in your own thoughts, though they are persuading, though they are bitter and dissuading. I retch until my body slithers on the floor like a mangled version of a reflection, something that can't be true. This one is called Words Unspoken, and it's also called Palimpsest, because that's what this poem is. I tend to speak in riddles that sound like normal sentences to people hearing them. I like to fool even myself, as I have learned to understand that my impulsive brain is smarter than my decisive brain. Chills in a warm room, cold words, long days, bare feet on wood floor. I feel the breaths of 1,000 lungs on my soles, and each one I've held is pinned to a mental chalkboard, so dense with scribbles that you can hardly see my poem written beneath it. I have found 3 things today: blueprints of my desk, hazel eyes, pine nut lips, my grandmother's recipes. I forgot to mention that I found the word I was looking for. Concubinage? No, decoupled. Okay, wait. Okay. This is called Shallow as the River. Full of free will, I watch as snow melts from your disposition, while I dream of snow, but foreign snow, built off of the blood and sweat of those too weary to remember their childhood. I was that weary once when the sky was freckled with teardrops and I ate only once a month. I would tell people it was a religious thing, but it wasn't. It wasn't like that at all. I remember seeing monsters in the river outside of my window. I remember believing that they were really there. Shallow as Grendel's lair, I placed my doubt in something obscure. It couldn't settle in my room. I had too much going on then. But most importantly, I was horribly lost. I would walk up the street and forget my way home. And even when I did know the way home, I would go somewhere else. Another way, even if it would get me killed. No bright lights, no life before my eyes, only the feeling that everything would be okay again, that I could finally rest easy. This one is called Self-Destroyer. Quaint streets, old people shuffling their feet, a district of security, and I, wrapped up in your arms, arms that draw me away, but not in a good way. We lay naked together in a bed with family nearby. I am suffocating underneath you. Seeing your angular old face, and I cannot say no. I am transported to a quaint world of ruin, a place I used to know. Forgotten days and nights blowing down my entire life, and above me was you, always suffocating me. And I could not help but give myself up to you as if it was the last piece to my own self-destruction. You, my destroyer, you, my repose. I am nothing without my memories, but yet I am half a human when I remember them. Sorry, my phone is like really old. Okay. This is actually going to be the last poem of my thesis, so let me know what you think or don't. It's called Juxtapose. We are perilous in the night, even when we slip away into sleep. As I await the gentle blanket of unconsciousness, feel its plushness encasing me, though sometimes it can strangle me. I wake up feeling like my head has been bashed in, as if the world has all fallen down inside of my head overnight. Though I try not to complain, seek proudly in the night, find meaning in the bulk of my subconscious existence as I clamber upstairs into cobwebs of spaces not normally ventured. Tight, confined niches that make me feel like I am walking into my own grave. But the mockingbird sings. I hear its call in the embrace of sunlight as morning pools into my room, and I am left without a way to juxtapose for a while. I see the comfort of morning dew in my room, and yet I cannot remove myself from where I had just been only seconds beforehand. Is it all a fallacy? Do my dreams mean only to distract me? Though I am perilous in the night, like a hooded assassin, I lurk in the streets that I call home, removed from the world that I only find myself disassociating into a cellar, an attic, a place that's all my own. I don't know how much time I have, but I'm like thinking 2 more. Is that cool? Okay. Let's see. Okay. This one is called, I don't know if I want to read this now. I'm going to do it. Like, screw it. Okay. This is called Talk to the Dead. Sometimes you can talk to the dead on a telephone, but only if they weren't murdered. At least that's what my Uncle Joey told me. He said that she had been murdered, and that's why I could never speak to her. He also said that I know who it was. I remember being hysterical and thinking it wasn't true. I remember feeling so dumbfounded that I never knew. There are footsteps downstairs that aren't mine. They open the door and turn on the car and wait to find somewhere to go. Okay, and this is the last one, and I wrote this morning. So it might be really bad, just warning you, but I'm gonna read it anyway. Okay, it's called Irreparable. Inspired by my sleep, I await the fungal infection of nightmares. Where in the world do bluebirds fly? High up high, they leave trails behind their tail feathers. Fractals of names, last words slowly dissolving into nothing. I see them from here. I could name them from you, but I'll spare you just that. Instead, I keep myself up, clutching the grass even when it is weak in my grasp, unable to be tied down to the world I've become. Up high, I see the sky unfolding in sheets of blue velvet. I think of reaching up but do not act. Instead, I close my eyes and whisper birdsong to anyone who will listen, not loud, not pervasive, only belonging to thoughtful me, meant for mouths, bodies encased in dirt. Thank you.
Robin Hager, well done. Well done. Now, our next performer is actually somebody who's already been up here, but David told me her first two poems did not get recorded, so we asked her to come up and read again. And quite frankly, that... What? Oh, the audio died. Yeah, so quite frankly, that makes me happy because we get to hear from her again. On Patreon, she's known as Theophania Madrason, but in the mortal world, she's Tiffany Madison. Give it up for Tiffany.
God, I'm so short. So the first poem I'm going to read is in the form of a riddle. And as stated before, if you can guess what it's about, kudos to you. Flight. We are everywhere and nowhere, unseen by you. But we see all. We tell all. Father knows all. His wisdom runs deep from the well. No lie slips past, no deed unknown. Roots run deep, roots of time. Time is the river that flows into the well. All things in time, all things are seen. All things are told, all things are known. This one is my favorite. Oh, how the gods laugh. Oh, how the gods laugh. We are mere puppets in their game. We have forgotten how to speak to them. And we have forgotten that the tithes of life run through us. They are most unhappy. They think we are spoiled, irresponsible, foolish little children. And we are. We have no grace, and our mouths are muddled with ignorance. Our gratitude has been lost in our assumed claim to a throne that will never be ours. How very brittle our souls have grown to be. Yet our minds conjure thoughts of kingdoms we are unworthy of. Oh, how the gods laugh.
Yeah, Tiffany Madison. Awesome. God. And now, our next performer, another person who decided to sign up at the last minute because he was moved with passion for this glorious place we call Greenkill. He's a mad genius. I worship him. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage the one and only Bad Stanza.
Oh my goodness. Hey. I'm doing this for you, Noah. Sorry, I kind of lost my voice a few days ago, which is why I wasn't going to, but I'm going to do two pieces. A couple of you in the room that have seen me perform before have probably heard these a bunch of times. There's a bunch of faces I've never seen, so this should be fun. God, is that what I look like? Breathless, underneath a willow tree, a wounded widow weeps atop a cliff, watching the sea recede like her kindred peak. She hasn't eaten in a week. She hasn't slept in days, just stands and cries with crowfeet eyes and curses coursing through her veins. It is the year of bruises and cuts, excuses and cigarette butts, noosed, intentions to dust, loose lips, bottled the trust, blacklist vicinity. Beautiful broken note of infinity, she screamed at the sky and composed a symphony, oh anima. Unbound siren, incessant ponderer, wanderer, hunter-gatherer, not that it ever mattered. She ran circles around eternity, yearned to be complete and pleaded for anything worthy of her test, but she was never impressed, never impressed. Immeasurable treasure in her chest, a sea of ruins at her feet, and she had never felt worth less. Behold, some lovers were never meant to be held except by themselves, and her number was up. Speak of the devil, sip from his cup. Taste the rust she left on every single thing she ever touched. Sick to her gut of the guilt trips, the poison in the water, the atrophy on land, the angst in every orchard, the scars born to the palms of her hands, alms and demands. A twisted witch known to slit her wrist with an asterisk broke her back on an ampersand. She needs asylum. Bask in the light of that last straw she was ready to give. She thought she wanted to die. She only wanted to live. She only wanted to live. She only wanted to live. We only wanted to live. We only wanted to dance. We only wanted to play musical graves. Every bridge might be a dive, but every circle is a stage. So let's focus, pocus, willow brush, hypnosis dosed, a cloak of trust, our footprints stroked in cosmic dust. The crossroads will remember us as tiptoes, lest we wake the giants, blister, lest we shake the pious sticks and stones, befitting thrones for emperors and tyrants. Oh, hi. My name is opiate dystopian, affectionless, no end to this distress. We're ineffective, hence word to the resurrectionist. Her name was Festivus Depresticus, a vixen set to vex to kiss, her picture-perfect lips, her flesh so delicate, no revelry, no passing glance at sympathy, elevated consciousness blanket beneath a willow tree. Empty, temptress, wrathful, and relentless in her actions, knows her guilt is just as much a part of her as her passion. Dance with me in the gallery of shadows, waltz into the light, lifted by the gallows, take a leap. Let's burn down every bridge in sight. We only needed to breathe. We only needed to breathe. Thank you. My friend, the poet Buddy Wakefield, says that the secret to living forever is thus. Everybody, please, with me. Take a deep breath in through your nose to your whole body. Do it. Right? All right, cool. Do it again. All right, y'all just go ahead and keep doing that forever. You're going to need it. It's cuter when he says it. I am the angel of breath. More than you bargained for yet? I still see God in water towers and the devil in debt. I am the patron saint of drunk mistakes, addicted to reform, earthquakes and storms. My trees, no shallow roots. My knees, no heavy truths. My palms are torn. I am a loser. All my fears are on display. I pulled some splinters from my skin and built a home in a day. I built a replica of Rome in an hour for shits and gigs. I built a castle out of tarot cards and broken arrow shafts with stones and sticks. I built a garden filled with bold, resilient greens. I've held an orchard worth of apples in my eyes. And in my dreams, I planted seeds. I dug a moat. I made a friend. She slit my throat. I've been a rebel and a joke. I've been a titan and a ghost. I've been a smile and a scream. I've been an addict and a fiend. I've been a writer on the run. I've been a prophet and a gun. And I'm having fun. Yeah, poets walk, rivers run, elder gods get drunk and spill their glasses, extinguish the sun. My clothing never fits right. My voice is a swarm of locusts born from soil in my spinal cord. My posture is atrocious. On my worst days, I look homeless, wrapped in blankets on the floor. But on my best days, I'm a million buck prints trooping through the forest, watching satyrs frolic in the funk, steeping wormwood in their blood, off their antlers, dancing at the crossroads between fear and love, peers and drugs, fungus turning cedar greens to apple-rusted fever dreams, and ancient magic potions to epiphanies. Listen. I swore I'd till a field until my back was broken. Like 1,000 windmills bore a country from the ocean. I would plant my feet upon the firmest earth, immersed in all my curses, burdened with purpose, and practice slow breathing in cursive. I've never known a devil who would turn away a broken wing. I've never known a caged bird who still possessed the urge to sing. I've never known a ship too tall to topple or too broad to sink. I've never known an organ that I couldn't poison with a drink. I've never known a mountain impervious to erosion or a volcanic spillage that couldn't be savored as a potion saved the ocean, as if a siren song comprised of righters' wrongs could fight the dawn and free the iron prongs from both our tired palms. I've known the incorrigible wrath of a serpent who died by its own teeth. I've known creative ambivalence in a heartbeat. I've seen inertia creep through canyons, leading all connected vessels to the sea. I've seen the moon hide in double negatives. I dare you to find me. I'm Bad Stanza.
Bad Stanza. God, that was good. Thank you. Thank you. And you did it while you were, wounded. Brilliantly done. Yeah. Okay. Now, there was this big time constraint and everything, but as you can see, I've exercised zero control over the show. So if anybody else wants to come up, anybody, we're at the end of the show. Anybody want to do a little more? Going once? What? No. Listen, he's Hannah. I'll take up your offer. Okay, Hannah's back on the stage. Let's hear it. Yeah.
Just give me 1 second. Sorry. Okay. This one's called Inappropriate Contemplations. My time keeps running out. It perishes before my eyes and wipes clean the mess it made with its crumbs and its stickiness. It betrays me, trying to convince me that there is enough, that the sandbox is full and contained with no cracks for the opportunity of escape. I don't believe it. You're a fragile friend who wishes to get rid of me, to live on your own without the unnecessary stress I implement upon you. Your mechanisms are far too complicated to understand how blinks transform into decades, how fast you run. I continue to fall short with every effort to negotiate a settlement for stability. My dear friend laughs in my naive face and only runs faster. I have found there is no negotiating with you, no means for containment, no accessibility to flow with your current, be it far from human grip. I cannot understand this feeling I have, why I feel so close to death, this catatonic sensation which cripples my well-being and screams at me in the middle of the night to stop wasting the time which limits itself so heavily. A sleepless beauty which awaits a kiss from the Grim Reaper only to find disappointment in his allegiance to you, leaving me trapped, surrounded by thick glass, standing on an island of sand as it continues to trickle onto my head, leaving less and less space for breath. Paralyzed, I find no comfort in this deep sleep, no pleasure in witnessing my very skin wrinkle and droop further towards the floor. In fact, it is horrifying. I tremble at the thought of your capabilities and the lack of mercy you show. Insensitive to any circumstance, I fear how reckless you are. You play with yarn and clip when you desire, no measurements, no calculations, no pity. These games you play, such strange games. I do not understand how fingers of silver could tremble so violently, how you can summon a black hole in a mind which has seen you for far too long. I do not understand how we forget you so often. The tick of each second is recorded, examined, and placed into a file, each file in its own box with its own name and its own designated space in your library. I wonder how long you have witnessed each transformation, as I am convinced you existed far beyond our estimations. I simply cannot comprehend this illusion you cast over us all again. I don't believe you. I don't believe you are here to remind us to stay present or to cherish the limits of your existence or even to give us an understanding of our place in this god-awful world. I think you are a trickster, and a bloody good one for that matter. I think you have tricked us all into worshiping you day and night, handcuffed at the wrist, an explosive arrangement of numbers, constantly dictating our every move. We have set names for your particles, cheering with gratitude at each year you have watched us suffer with laughter, presenting presents of materialistic value for losing yet another grasp of your intangible consequences. I wonder how far you have stretched and if you will ever face breakage. I wonder if you are a puppet or a puppeteer. I wonder who is pulling the deviant strings. Is it you? I haven't figured out if I'm angry with you or my own unsuccessful endeavors. Or are you the reason for their failure, or am I just finding excuses to settle the lack of contentment within me? Or am I being foolish for even assuming there is a correlation, but there must be? There must be. I tell myself, correlation does not imply causation, but then how do I justify this guilt of emptiness, this lack of? How do I settle my spastic nerves from erupting and involuntarily awakening a pyroclastic flow which coats my physical self and molds me into a rigid nobody with a hollow interior? What shall I do to preserve this very moment without permanently solidifying its existence and invariably confining myself to only its surroundings, without reach of every other movement, without flexible potential, and hold sight solely of what's in front of me? Why does the hippocampus choose one over the other? Why does some memories merely pass by and others dreadfully haunt my waking life? The riddles you dispense, if I shall call them that, are melting every ounce of patience inside me. My dear friend, please let go of your grip for my lungs, though your clench has allowed me to be in full awareness of each breath, and for that I am grateful. Sometimes I long to forget, if only for a short time, that I am temporary, that this all will soon be a dusty file on the highest degree of your catalog. Perhaps this request is beyond your control, as it is me who accepted your psychotic handshake to begin with, and it is me who allowed my organs to be raped by your illusions, but years have passed, and I am no better off. This misunderstanding of you, of which I cannot entirely elaborate in my liking, has prevented me from a comfort I've seen in others. Though sometimes I do doubt the totality of these inappropriate contemplations, as often I witness myself flying high above the horizon, observing the very nature of human despair, and in the blissful breeze that cuts through my body and awakens me with a rather lonesome coldness, I understand that you are not all bad. I understand your lack of attachment is not particular, as your shoulders are bare of any guiltful weight, and with that I cannot hold you accountable. Though still I hold a disliking towards my relationship with you, and am only filled with an acute anxiety about unintentionally obsessing over you in a single sitting. I am uncertain whether these contemplations are viewed as ludicrous, though I believe them to be not, and am highly curious how often they protrude into others' minds, as I am convinced this is an issue for humanity and not solely myself. I am aware of my maddening fixation on your mighty powers, though perhaps I wish to understand their mechanical workings, and still I have to remind myself that the lack of associations between human clocks and you, there is nothing mechanical about you, and this is the premise which leaves me hanging on such a thin string, because I simply don't know what that means. I don't know if I agree. I understand the Ouroboros nature of your existence, concluding into itself and disgustingly reappearing with no point of separation. Within this loop, we find delineations which allow us to some degree understand in which rotation we now breathe in. Though my perplexed mind, filled with disturbance, rather desires to know of your mysterious venom, the consequences of your absent tail, how far your tongue can reach, what your hiss sounds like. These secrets of yours, which code every question in the way in which I live my life, are there only to bother and frolic the essence of my character. This is why I am uncertain of your mechanisms, because they are more intricate and tangled than what appears at face value. Your secrets are only observable with a fine microscopic lens taking years to obtain. And here I go again, how to speak of you without the paradox of the meaning we place upon you. How do I dare explain these starving, poorly fashioned, and rightfully irritating thoughts? Though here I am again, in the darkness of my room, thinking about you, as I always do, and having this undesirably piercing pain, in which the sole remedy for quietening my mind is simply to sleep. Until the break of dawn I have, to rest without the excruciating pressure of convulsing from your affirmation in your presence, and still, it is never enough time. Thank you.
Hannah Zubarava. And then, now, back on the stage, director, writer, performer, national treasure, Jessica Boyd.
All right, I will say goodbye. Have a good night. So this is not my work. This is one of my favorite songs. So thought I'd share it with you all. Skylark, have you anything to say to me? Won't you tell me where my love can be? Is there a meadow in the mist where someone's waiting to be kissed? Skylark, have you seen a valley green with spring, where my heart can go a-journeying over the shadows and the rain to a blossom-covered lane? And in your lonely flight, haven't you heard the music in the night? Wonderful music, faint as a will-o'-the-wisp, crazy as a loon, sad as a gypsy serenading the moon. Oh, Skylark, I don't know if you can find these things, but my heart is riding on your wings. So if you see them anywhere, won't you lead me there?
Thank you, Jessica. And I think that's it. This has been a great night. Like so many people have said, we all love Greenkill. David, thank you for providing the venue. Thank you for helping us put together this Word Hooley tonight. And thank you so much to all the performers for coming out. Let's do this again sometime, huh? This has been Word Hooley at Greenkill. Have a good night, everybody.